Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to CYDA's webinar today. It's great to have everyone with us, and I hope you're having a very good day so far. My name is Jason McCurry. I'm the Programs Manager here at Children and Young People with Disability Australia, or CYDA as our acronym, and I use he, him pronouns. As a short visual description of myself, I have light skin, I have a short brown beard with brown hair, and today I'm wearing a blue blazer and a white t-shirt. I'd like to open the session today by providing an acknowledgement of country. I'd like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation and Wurrung language group, pay my respects to their elders, past and present, and also extend those respects to other traditional lands across the country that you're all calling in from today, and pay our respects to their elders, past and present. This always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Over the last year and a half, we've been working with over 40 co-designers, about 10 project staff, and a lot of those project staff being people with disability themselves. The co-designers include parents and caregivers and family members of children and young people with disability, as well as a lot of young people with disability themselves. And we also work with a range of service providers, accessibility service providers, and contractors, a lot of those who have lived or family lived experience as well. And we're really excited to have everyone here to launch these resources today. But before we do that, we really wanted to reflect on what is co-design, what is lived experience, and what is the importance of centering lived experience in all of our work. And we wanted to bring you all, the community, on that journey with us. So we've invited a range of different guests here today, which we're looking forward to hearing from. The event will go for 1 hour, and we'll be recording the event for safety and wellbeing reasons. And we may also share the recording or parts of the recording after the event, so those who cannot join us today can catch up at a later date. Soon you'll be hearing from our CEO, Skye Moore. Today, you'll also hear from one of our project support officers, Summan. You'll also hear from our community impact manager, Sonia Regan. You'll hear from one of our previous project support officers, Emily Sullivan. You'll also hear from one of our co-designers who's a parent of a child with disability, Jennifer Crowther. And you'll also hear from a young person with disability who was a co-designer in the process, Layne. And we'll give full bios on them soon. But before we go into that, just a little bit of administration and reminders. This is a webinar format, and we have a range of staff here who can help you today. We have Lucy and Sajed in tech support. We have Rosie and Sonia as chat moderators, and you might see them already in the chat sharing those things. And feel free to engage in the chat in a way that works for you. It's great to be able to connect with community. Other things I wanted to talk about is we have a live captioner with us today. You can turn on captions by going to the caption toolbar and clicking on show captions, or you could use the external browser link that will be posted in the chat soon. So there's two options there that will help you follow along. We have 2 Auslan interpreters, and they'll be spotlighted alongside any speakers today. So you don't need to do anything to view them. But if you prefer to have multi-pin access to be able to pin an interpreter to make them bigger on your personal screen, please message us and we'll make that available to you. You can also change your view settings if that's helpful for you by navigating the view settings on the top right of the screen. Please send us a message if you have any tech support questions. And also, finally, we have a safety and wellbeing officer with us today, Lauren. Thank you, Lauren, for being here. We try to make our events as safe, inclusive, and accessible as possible. So if you need to chat or debrief throughout the session or 1 hour after the session today, we encourage you to reach out to Lauren on the phone number in the chat. And thank you, Rosie, for posting those messages as I went through. Cool. Well, that is the brief overview and reminders done. So now we'll move on to why you're all here, to hear from our lived experience experts, and also experts in their own mind, whether that's lived experience, family lived experience, or experts in the field with through years of professional experience working across the disability and social community sectors. And up first, we have our CEO. I'd like to welcome Skye Moore to the stage. Skye joined CYDA as CEO in October 2023. After growing up in the Middle East, Skye completed law and economics degrees at Flinders University before entering politics. She initially worked as an advisor to an independent senator and was elected as a senator for South Australia in 2016. After leaving politics, Skye worked in disability policy advocacy and implemented multiple co-designed capacity building projects, such as this one, with people with disability from different backgrounds. A massive welcome, Skye, and I'll hand it over to you to kick us off.
Skye speaking. Thank you so much, Jace. Hi, everyone. My name is Skye, and I use she, her pronouns. A short visual description of myself. I have light skin, shoulder-length blonde hair, and I'm wearing glasses with black frames and a blouse with pink and purple flowers. It's wonderful to be here with you for the Learning from Lived Experience, Taking Charge of Change through a Co-Design Process webinar, where we will launch the Take Charge of Change project resources. I want to start by acknowledging the incredible amount of passion, time, and care that has gone into this project. From the co-designers, our staff, contractors, and everyone in the community who has been part of the journey. This project and the resources are such a powerful example of what happens when we listen deeply and we work with people with lived experience rather than for them. At CYDA, everything we do is embedded and centred around lived experience. We're a national representative organisation driven by the voices of children and young people with disability and their families and caregivers. We know that the most meaningful change, whether it's in policy, services, or community attitudes, always begins with listening to those who live it every day and centering their voices and experiences where possible. That's why co-design is not just a project method for us. It's a principle that guides how we work at CYDA. It's how we make sure that what we create is not only relevant and useful, but truly empowering for the disability community. Over the past year and a half, our team has worked closely with more than 40 co-designers, parents, caregivers, and young people with disability through 24 co-design meetings with several staff and contractors with disability to create a suite of practical, accessible resources that support people through some of life's biggest transitions or changes in the ages between 0 and 25 years. We've heard from young people navigating the move from school to work, and from parents supporting their children as they start school or step into new environments. Together, we've co-designed resources that respond to real experiences, the uncertainty, the excitement, and the need for support that comes with change. The result is a rich collection of storybooks, handbooks, planners, videos, and podcasts, all shaped by lived experience. Every page, every idea, and every voice in this project reflects the strength and diversity of our community. We currently have a whole suite of resources ready to be utilised, with many more being finalised as we speak and will be ready in the coming months, around a total of 30 resources for this wave. And importantly, these resources are not only designed for the disability community, but by the disability community, with young people with disability and parents and caregivers of children and young people with disability leading every step of the process. This project and work doesn't sit in isolation, and we see it as an opportunity. Following years of reviews and consultations, the disability sector and ecosystem is in a place of reform and change. We know this can be scary for the community, and we also see it as an important opportunity. This is a time for national conversation about inclusion, accountability, and systemic reform. From changes to the NDIS, to the design and introduction of thriving kids and other foundational supports, to changes to disability employment services to Inclusive Employment Australia, the review of the Disability Discrimination Act, and many other reforms. This is a significant opportunity for federal, state, and local governments, for service providers, and for all other organisations that work with people with disability to collaborate, learn from, and co-design the future of disability policy in Australia based on lived experience. Take Charge of Change really shows what authentic co-design looks like in practice and the impact it can achieve. When people with disability are not just included, but truly leading the process, we end up creating tools, resources, and systems that actually make sense, are fit for purpose, and make a difference in the community's everyday experiences. Again, this is a reminder for government, service providers, and the broader sector that the answers we're looking for already exist within our communities. We just need to engage and listen. I want to take a moment to thank everyone who made this possible, our incredible co-designers who gave their time and their stories so generously, our project team of staff who led this work with such great care and thoughtfulness, our contractors and accessibility service providers who ensured the design of the resources are inclusive, accessible, and engaging, and the Department of Social Services for supporting this important initiative through the Information Linkages and Capacity Building Grant Program. And while today is a celebration of what's been achieved, it's also a launchpad for what's next. We'll soon begin the next phase of co-design to create even more resources with new co-designers so that we can continue building tools that make transitions smoother and more inclusive for everyone. Keep an eye out for opportunities to be involved in future waves, and please also utilise and share the full suite of resources once they're launched. Thank you all so much for being here today and for sharing this moment with us. This project and process has been such a powerful reminder of what's possible when we come together, when lived experience, creativity, and collaboration drive the work from the very beginning. To everyone who contributed their time, stories, and ideas, whether you were part of a co-design group, shared feedback, or helped shape the resources behind the scenes, we're deeply grateful. Your voices have built something that will support families, young people with disability, and communities for years to come. We're really proud of what's been created and excited for what's still to come. Thank you for being part of this journey with us. Back to you, Jace.
Thank you so much, Skye, for kicking us off with such an important message and summarising, everything that's gone into this year and a half of work from everyone involved, and also the importance we have where we find ourselves in the sector and ecosystem with a range of reform currently being designed. Hopefully today, we hope that there are staff from all different types of organisations, including government, including other disability representative organisations and other stakeholders that can learn about co-design and centering lived experience to design systems that are fit for community purpose. So thank you, Skye. We're now going to go into the next part of the webinar, which we're calling a lived experience panel. And on the lived experience panel today, we have a number of co-designers, so young people with disability who are involved in the design of the resources, parents and caregivers who are involved in the design of the resources, and a current and former project staff members, which we're really excited to have you all here today. We've got some set questions that we're going to go through in the lived experience panel, and then later today, some of the folks, as well as a member of our communications team, will be opened up to a will be opened up to an audience Q&A, where you'll be able to ask questions in the chat and also through the Q&A function. So I'm going to go through now and introduce our speakers. And I do want to say thank you for everyone in the chat. It's awesome to see so many people here from different states, territories, and traditional lands. And thank you for reaching out and introducing yourself. I'm sure Rosie and Sonia will be busy there engaging with you all. So in terms of introduction of our speakers, Emily, Sellerman up first. M uses she, they pronouns and is a passionate and dedicated advocate based on Wudjak Noongar country in Perth, working across consultancy and systemic advocacy roles within the youth, disability, and mental health sectors. With a strong background in facilitation, co-design, and training, she has led and contributed to a range of initiatives that centre voices of lived experience. Emily previously worked as a project support officer on the Take Charge of Change project here at CYDA and currently facilitates a group of young people with disability in another co-design project, which is about a mass communications campaign with the Youth Disability Advocacy Network, or YDAN, and that's the Youth Disability Peak body in Western Australia. Thank you so much for being here today, Anne. Summan Asid is our next speaker and uses she, her pronouns. Summan is a project support officer here at CYDA, where she has coordinated and facilitated national co-design consultations that have centred the voices of children and young people with disability, their families and caregivers. With a background in youth work, advocacy and community engagement, Summan brings a wealth of experience across the disability, multicultural, youth justice and out-of-home care sectors. Before joining CYDA, she worked on projects supporting multicultural and First Nations young people, co-designing initiatives that gave them greater voice and influence in the systems that affect them. Welcome, Summan. The next speaker is Jennifer Crowther, who uses she, her pronouns. Jennifer is a passionate disability advocate and proud mother of 2 children. Her eldest child, Lily Galton, was born at 26 weeks with disability and has addressed public supports, and has accessed public supports using both state and federal funding over the years. Lily has also had to rely on the private sector to meet needs. Having experienced gaps in communication between sectors and within sectors to different agencies, Jenny became determined to learn what she could do to navigate such a daunting and flawed system. Since then, she's contributed to several co-design processes, both as a facilitator and participant, and knows the value of empowering parents to advocate for their child. Welcome, Jenny. And our final speaker of the lived experience panel is Layne Dixon. Layne uses they, them pronouns and is an accessibility advocate, storyteller, and digital educator based on Belia, Budja land in Western Australia. They help businesses and creators build inclusive digital spaces that everyone can access and connect with. Drawing on lived experience as a disabled and queer entrepreneur, Layne brings creativity, honesty, and practical strategy to every project, making accessibility less overwhelming and more meaningful. Welcome, Layne. So as you can see, we have a range of speakers today with an enormous amount of lived expertise, lived experience and professional expertise. So thank you all for being here today. I'm going to open up a range of questions now. And the first one is for Summan. So Summan, you've worked on the Take Charge of Change project at CYDA for about a year now. Can you share what this project has meant to you personally and how your lived experience shaped the way you approach this work?
Summan speaking. Thanks so much, Jace. Just noting that today I'm joining from Boorloo, Perth, and I pay my respects to the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, the traditional custodians of the land. Just a quick visual description of myself. I'm a woman with brown skin. I'm wearing a black hijab and glasses with black frames. Thanks so much for the question, Jace. Working on the Take Charge of Change project has been both really inspiring and deeply fulfilling in many ways, and quite healing as well. It's been powerful. It's been a powerful opportunity to see parents and people with disability leading the conversations about what real change looks like, especially in spaces where people with disability are often excluded. There's something incredibly empowering about not just creating space for lived experience, but letting it truly drive the direction of the work. And I think the resources we've created really reflect how well that's been done. My own lived experience has kept me grounded in compassion and empathy throughout this project. It's reminded how important it is to create safe and accessible spaces and to hold diversity that exists within the disability community.
Jason speaking. Thank you so much, Summan, for kicking us off with that response and highlighting the importance of diversity and community involvement in the project. Em, I'm going to come to you next, Emily, with the same question. So you worked on the Take Charge of Change project for almost a year as well. Can you please share what this project has meant to you personally, and how your lived experience shaped the way you approach this work?
Yeah, of course. Thanks so much for the question, Jace. My name's Emma. I use she, they pronouns, and I'm also calling in from Wajak Noongar Budja. And just for a quick visual description of me, I have light skin, red hair, and I'm wearing a black checkered t-shirt today. To answer the question, working on the Take Charge of Change project was incredibly meaningful to me, and to have this opportunity to work on a project that was led by and for our disabled community, like Skye said in our introduction, was something that was super special to me. Personally, I'm a really strong believer in the power of co-design, having been both a participant and also a facilitator. So this opportunity to learn from these lived experience experts was super valuable. And these co-designers who worked on the project were incredible. They had such innovative ideas and expertise, and I really learned so much from them. For me, approaching this project as a young person with disability myself, who's been part of co-design and youth programs with CYDA, it was really important to me that this experience for co-designers was one that was really safe and accessible. And something that was also important to me was that our co-design processes were authentic and were genuinely led by lived experience. I think co-design is a term that's used so tokenistically, and it's a bit of a buzzword in this sector. So it was really cool that this experience wasn't led by those, traditional so-called experts, but instead, we really valued the perspectives of the co-designers and the co-design process.
Jason speaking. Thanks so much, Emily. I really appreciate that. And yeah, there were so many incredible ideas. And back to Sky's opening message, that people with disability, we have the answers, we have the solutions. So listening to community is so important. Thank you for that. Jennifer, I'll go to you next. You've been part of this project as a parent and co-designer. What motivated to get you involved in the project?
Great question. Thanks, Jason. First of all, I use she, her pronouns, and I'd like to acknowledge that I am sitting on Whadjuk Noongar land here in Perth. Brief visual description is I'm a middle-aged white woman. I have shoulder-length hair that is reddish brown. I'm wearing some headphones and a grey jacket. So what motivated me to join was just the opportunity to connect and learn from others. As a parent, it's really common to not know what you're doing. There's a lot of different systems to navigate. And as I mentioned in the opening about me, my daughter with her needs is picked up in so many different systems, ignored in others. So we're constantly trying to work out where we fit. And she's also going through transitions at the moment, being age 12. So we're heading into high school next year, which will come with a whole new range of challenges and joyous moments as well. So for me, it's not just about having an opportunity to share my voice and having that passed down to other parents that might be further back in their journey than what I am, so that they can learn it from what I've done and what other parents do, but also building that community with others so we can share those experiences and identify and address further gaps as we find them.
Jason speaking. Thanks so much, Jennifer. That, yeah, importance of community, connection with peers, whether that be other young disabled folks, whether that be other parents and caregivers, so important as we navigate different systems and life changes. Thank you for that. Layne, a big warm welcome to you. First question I have for you, Layne, is you've shared your insights as a young person with disability throughout this process. What motivated you to get involved in the co-design process, and what has this experience been like for you?
Thanks, Jade. This is Layne speaking. A video description of me is that I have blonde hair and is wearing a multicolored cardigan. This this co-design process has been an amazing opportunity for me to connect with young adults across Australia with disability and to learn not only from my own experience but from other people's journey and to hear that I'm not alone in what I'm dealing with.
Jason speaking. Thanks so much, Layne. Again, centering that or highlighting that importance of community and connection. And yeah, I think that quote there, like hearing that you're not alone. How important is it to not hear that from others, but to be able to feel that and experience that and witness that for yourself. Thank you for sharing that. We'll go back to Summan now with the next question. So the project's focus has all been about transitions, life transitions and life changes. And that's at all ages of life for children and young people from 0 to 25. So there's a lot of different transitions and changes in that period, obviously. What does taking charge of change mean to you in your own personal journey?
Summan speaking. Thanks, Jace. For me, taking charge of change is recognizing that people with lived experience are the true experts in their own lives and trusting that expertise. Throughout this project, I've been so inspired by the passion and strength of every co-designer that I've had the privilege of working alongside. I think they've shown immense courage, not only in challenging the stigma and systems they don't agree with, but also in challenging us at CYDA and the facilitators when something didn't sit right. I think that willingness to speak up and hold the process accountable is exactly what co-design should look like. As someone with intersectional identity, navigating different systems and expectations hasn't always been easy. But this project has really reminded me that taking charge of change also means owning your story, embracing identity as a whole, and using it as a source of strength to push for better representation and inclusion.
Thanks so much for that, Summan. Strength, courage, and passion, and yeah, challenging the stigma of not only the systems and supports there, but also us as CYDA running the project. I think co-design. I think Em shared it's a bit of a buzzword, but it's not easy. It's not meant to be easy. I think if it was easy, everyone would do it. And we're hopefully talking a little bit about the process today and different important aspects of it and principles and that accountability measure. So important to be accountable to the community. Thank you, Summan. Next question, I'll go back to Em. And a similar question again, Em, to you as someone with lived experience that has been involved on the project side. What does taking charge of change mean to you in your own personal journey?
I'm speaking. Thanks, Jace. I guess on a more personal note, the project's name is means a lot to me as a young person with disability, having navigated so many of these transitions that our project covers. For me, transitions have been something that I've found challenging. With the big ones, leaving school or starting a new job, but also the smaller everyday ones. And I think Take Charge of Change really resonates with me, especially from my journey from adolescence to young adulthood, where I found myself in a position where I was making some of those bigger decisions about my health and my treatment and my future. And And I think that's why our project is really important, because it's all about empowering people to reclaim that agency and, equipping them with the tools and resources from those who've lived it and know best, which is the disabled community.
Thanks, Sam. Really just love those last points you finished on about that empowerment and reclaiming agency. Um, so important. Thank you. Cool. We'll go to Jennifer next. What was it like working collaboratively with other parents and caregivers of children with disability and CYDA to shape these resources?
I think that the structure that was given was really good, because we obviously have such a breadth of experiences and understanding as well. I think quite often we're hearing, when we're talking about lived experience, the difference between lived experience and lived experience expertise. And when you do have that switch into expertise, you've had that wider experience of different processes. You've met a lot of people across different sectors, so you've got a broader lens. And it's not saying that there's not a place for both, because 100% we need them. We need as many. But I actually think that having some of that structure provided very reasonable expectations amongst the group to know what to expect, where the boundaries were. Sometimes you can go too far and have these blue skies concepts, and then you never have an outcome, because everyone's just keeps on going on all these wonderful ideas that would be brilliant. But when you're working on funded projects or end goals, it's really important to have that structure. And one of the things that I really liked about what Emily just said, about the fact that she's been, through those journeys personally. Now, I've been through those journeys, but not with a disability. My child will go through those journeys with a disability, and there's a gap in knowledge. And I think that this project was really good, because we were able to have that insight from parents that may or may not know. Some parents obviously may also have the disability themselves, but don't necessarily know those things. And then we have the people that have actually been through it, and matching it up, what the parents want to know with what the youth know we need to know. So I just thought it was really good to have those clear structures, clear boundaries, but also making sure that all the important stakeholders had an opportunity. So it's been a wonderful experience working with CYDA on this project.
Jason speaking. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for that. I think that understanding and taking that step back and kind of, what's my role to play here, like knowing when to step in, knowing when to step back, and when to be led by others with lived experience, and kind of that community connection and sharing. So thank you for highlighting that, and thank you for being involved, Layne and Jennifer, in the co-design process. Layne, I'll come back to you for the next question. What stood out to you about the co-design process? Was there something that made you feel particularly included or heard?
Sorry, this is Layne speaking. I really enjoyed the co-design process, from the idea that not only the co-design myself, the participants such as myself came up with, but also the co-designers such as helped us deliver. I felt like the questions we got asked were really relevant to what I was dealing with in everyday life, from transitioning into the workplace to transitioning from high school into long-term education and finding our specific niche and learning about our rights as disabled people, and not just listening to what the experts have to say about our diagnosis.
Thanks, Layne. And you mentioned a couple of transitions there that you, personally gone through, whether it's high school to long-term education, and you felt the questions in the co-design process were relevant. I might just ask a follow-up question on that. If you could give one piece of advice to other young people with disability or parents and caregivers going through change or a transition, what would that be?
Change and transition is not just for disabled people, but for everyone. I would recommend getting yourself around people with disabilities or around people in a similar circumstance to you to make sure that you're not alone and that you have the opportunity to learn about your rights when doing those tough navigations through life.
Thanks, Layne. Some really important tips there about, getting involved with the community, getting around other people with disability, and learning about your rights together and through your own journey, but others' journeys as well. And obviously, we work with folks from regional and rural backgrounds as well, and that's often not as easy for folk in those communities. So getting involved where possible in online, making sessions like this online and accessible to anyone to be able to connect nationally is really important to us and from different states, and obviously broadening that community as well. That's what a national representative organisation is all about, is feeling part of something. So, if you aren't currently a part of CYDA or part of our programs and events, encourage you to become a member. It is free for young people with disability and parents and caregivers with disability, and building that sense of community, learning your rights, and then either fighting individually or collectively. So thank you, Layne, for that. We might have time for a couple more questions, and then we'll go to the next part of the webinar. Summan, you might have touched on a little bit so far, but from your experience, what role does lived experience play in creating more inclusive and supportive resources?
Stone speaking. Thanks, Jace. From my experience, when resources are co-designed, I think they're just instantly more accessible and trustworthy for the audience that they're intended for. There's a level of authenticity when people who've lived it are shaping the work. On a personal level, I will always reach for a co-designed resource myself before any other. And I think that in this project, accessibility was centered in every single step, and that's made the resources more relevant and effective, and they're generally meeting the needs of the audience. Lived experience brings a layer of thoughtfulness and depth that you just can't get otherwise, and it's what makes the final product feel really, truly supportive.
Thanks, Summan, and thanks also for sharing like what resources you look to that are out there to utilise. And a big part of this project was doing a big desktop research audit of what are existing resources out there, so that we didn't duplicate them. Some of the gaps were intersection. Some of the big gaps were intersectionality, co-design, actual resources that were authentically co-designed and available in different accessible formats. So that's something we've tried to do, and we'll share with you what we've launched later today, and more to come, and making them as accessible to different community groups as possible. Thank you, Summan. I'll go to Jennifer, I'll go back to you. What message do you hope other parents and caregivers will take away from the resources?
Sense of hope, and knowing that there is a process. And I think the way that they design is not this is it, this is what it must look like, and there is no variation, because we know that there's so much difference out there. I think they're quite broad enough that people understand that this is a way, and some things to consider, but you sort of pick and choose what suits you. So I think that there's a lot of understanding that not one size fits all. What I think though is the key part is getting it out to the parents for me. I think that the parents themselves, when they receive it or see it, they'll see the value. I think sometimes we have a ability to still work in silos where we make these amazing resources, but they don't get out there because other organizations will go, well, we're going to make our own, or we're going to do it this way. So I think it's really important for those that took part in the co-design to pull our weight and to make sure that we use our resources and our networks to say that this does exist, it's there for you, and help with that language around it and help people to engage. So I think definitely for the parents, it's I'm not alone. There are people here that have walked this path before, and they understand that it's going to be unique for me or for me and my child. But we also need that those that were involved is to stay passionate about the piece, to keep it alive and keep it going.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Based on time, we'll end this lived experience panel there. Thank you so much, Summan, Emily, Layne, and Jennifer. A big round of applause to you all, or Auslan round of applause to you all for sharing your insights and experiences with us today. And we'll move on to the next section of the webinar now, where we'll get the first look at some of these Take Charge of Change resources on our website that's gone live today. And to do this, I'm introducing Sonia Reagan. Sonia is our Community Impact Manager at CYDA, meaning that she leads all of our communications work. In terms of Sonia's background, Sonia has worked in a range of roles across government and community, always with a focus on empowering children, young people, and families. Her qualifications in sociology and disability have driven her advocacy for individual and systemic matters in child protection, education, and disability service provision. As Community Impact Manager, Sonia strives to support CYDA to have a genuine impact as leaders in the disability community. And it's worth noting, Sonia is also a parent of a young person with disability and brings that experience to her work. Over to you, Sonia, to take us through the first look at the resources.
Sonia speaking. Thank you, Jace. Just before I jump in, by way of a visual description, so I have long brown hair. I'm wearing dark glasses, or glasses with a dark frame, and I have light-coloured skin. I am going to share my screen. I think before I share the resources, I just want to acknowledge some things that the other speakers have said, particularly I think how unique this particular co-design project has been. Both Jennifer and Layne mentioned the process that we went through and that we actually created something. I think so often we do co-design and we just talk about it and we never actually create something. So I think this has been such a great process where the co-design groups have been involved all the way through. They have already seen the final product for the most part. And it's been such a great journey to actually have them involved all the way through. They've had multiple opportunities to review the resources and make sure that they meet everything they expect them to. So just wanted to touch base about that. And yeah, jump in to show you the website and all of the resources. So if you are coming onto the CYDA website, this is our homepage. So welcome if you have not been to our website before. And the Take Charge of Change resources can be found easily on the homepage of our website or using the link in the chat. So what you can see is a nice little section on the website that includes all of the resources. We have a homepage with a search bar at the top and a brief menu to help you find your way around the site. Everything is designed with accessibility standards as much as possible. And we've included a range of different formats to access the resources. When I go into all resources, you can see that the resources are divided up into resources for families and resources for young people. This is to acknowledge that some resources will be for families of younger children, for example, starting school, starting high school, and then other resources will be for young people directly, as Emily and Summan were both referring to before as well. So to click through there, you can actually start to see the resources as we've talked about. We have, so already on the website, you can see we have a picture book. This picture book was written by a person with disability and illustrated by a young person with disability as well. And each of these other booklets are also co-created in terms of the content with the co-design groups, which is great. Just to add as well, we had more than 15 external contractors working on this project, most of which have either disability or have family experience of disability. And our contractors were spread across 5 states. So we have a really good reach and a really good community representation. When I go back to the young people resources, we also had a range of young people write blogs as part of a series titled Doing Adulthood. We asked young people to think about what it meant to transition into adulthood and to think about moving out of home, getting a job, some of the things that might happen in sort of later teenage years and early adulthood. So there's a series of blogs as well. Coming soon, we have a few other resources due to be launched in the next couple of months. Amongst those will be 2 podcasts, as well as a video about starting school, and a couple of other nice creative resources that have been created with young people. I think I'm going to let people navigate the website themselves, Jace. So I'm happy to stop sharing there, and I guess if you have questions, please pop them in the chat or in the Q&A, and we can get to those during the session. Back to you, Jace.
Jason speaking. Thank you so much, Sonia. And I can see there's questions already coming through in the chat and also in the Q&A function. I'm just going to stop just to make sure the right spotlight's on and everyone can see okay. There we go. Cool. Thank you so much, Sonia, for going through that. You had the very exciting part to do the big reveal and show what everyone's been talking about and creating over the last year and a half. I know, Rosie, you'll be sharing the website link in the chat, so feel free to go ahead and take a look at the resources. As Sonia shared, there's a range of resources already up there. And there are a lot more on their way, and we hope to release them in the coming months. And looking forward to the next stage of this project as well. This is a 3-year project, and we will be moving into another wave of co-design soon. So moving into that next phase of the project with a new team of co-designers, different topics, different focuses. We're wanting to connect with service providers more, and obviously, as we talked about, it's a real pivotal time in the sector with reform. So we do have an opportunity to co-design with the community the most recent and relevant resources that are going to be helpful to them. So well done to everyone involved. We've got 10 minutes to go in the webinar, so we are going to move into our Q&A panel now. And the Q&A panel will feature Sonia, Jennifer, Emily, and Layne. So thank you for those that have already started to ask questions. There's two ways you can ask questions. You can ask them in the chat by posting in the chat, or you can also ask them in the Q&A function on Zoom, and we will get to them. So feel free to send through some questions, and the team will relay them through to me, and I'll ask whoever's relevant. Oh, so the first question, Sonia, this one's probably most appropriate for you. What's the plan for promoting and disseminating these resources to those who will benefit most?
Sonia speaking. Great question, and a question that we have asked the co-designers to help us with. I think, as Jennifer kind of suggested before, it's really important to us that we are considering the networks and the experience that our co-designers have. So they have shared with us so many ideas. I'm not even sure how many are there, but lots of ideas about how we might share the resources. We also have actually started doing some social media planning. We will be promoting the resources over the next couple of weeks, and beyond that as well. So we're looking at opportunities to share them with providers, as you mentioned, Jace, and also amongst our broader networks as well. But please, by all means, share the site as much as you possibly can across your networks. We want to make sure that as many people who will benefit from these as possible can access them. Yeah.
Thank you, Sonia. The next question, checking the chat as well. It's a good question, and this might be a good question for project staff. Emily and also the co-designers, Layne and Jennifer, what's the impact you hope to achieve with these resources?
Emma speaking. I'm happy to jump in and start us off answering this question. I think the impact of these resources, I would say there's two main things that I'm hoping to achieve. I think, firstly, the capacity building of co-designers and building that self-confidence that the voices of people with lived experience really do matter, and it's so important that we're including people with lived experience in co-design and designing resources like these and the design of systems and services. So I think firstly that's really important. And then secondly, I would say I think other co-designers and project staff would be able to speak to this, but I think something that I think is really important is that people have an opportunity to share their knowledge with lived experience. And so people who follow in our footsteps and following in our path, like Jennifer said, through these transitions, us being able to share that knowledge, I think is really cool. And knowing that these resources might help someone who's struggling and has been in a position that we have, I think that's really awesome.
Thanks so much, Anne. Jennifer, I'll hand to you next for the same question.
I think one of the impacts I'm hoping to have from this project is when you are regularly engaging with other families, whether it's with your professional lens or your personal life, there's a level of trust where you can actually, with what you say, people believe it because they've taken the time to get to know you, you're invested in them. And what I'm hoping with the impact from this is that having been a part of it, that when it's recommended and you can say, look, I helped form this, it's something that I believe in, people have a more open mind about how it might actually help them rather than, and to be honest, I've had that sometimes where I've been recommend something and it hasn't met what I needed, and I get this already before I see any new resources. They're not going to get me, they're not going to get my family, and my back's already up. I think what's beautiful about this and just the diversity within this team in terms of their networks is that when we go back out into the community and we're working, we're saying this is something that we actually believe in. This is something that we think represents experiences that we've ever had or that we think we'll have. And I think that will actually have true meaning because it will be a trustworthy source. And that's the power of co-design, and picking the right people to sort of be in that space as well.
Thank you, Jennifer. Layne, was there anything additional you wanted to add to that in terms of the impact you hope the resources have on the community?
I don't think so, other than word of mouth is very important. As someone that lives with a disability, I want like others to not feel alone, and these resources can and will guide many young people with disabilities as well as carers with disabilities like Jenny today on their unique path in the disability community. And I hope like from our next co-design we can develop more resources to help Eastern did take charge of change progress along so people with disabilities and carers of disabled people can get as much information out of our website and this specific platform as possible.
Thank you, Layne, and thank you to all. Thank you, Emily, Jennifer, and Layne, for your responses to that question. The impact, that community impact, is what it's all about. And we ask you all here today, if you can, please share these resources now and once they're available with your community. It can be a challenging thing sometimes, just getting helpful resources into the hands of the right people. So you all are here, our stakeholders and community as well. So we really do want your support in promoting these. Thank you to the panel. Just due to time, we won't be able to get to any more questions today, but I'll try to answer a few of the questions in my wrap-up summary, if that's okay. I just wanted to thank everyone, all of our speakers today. So Skye, Emily, Summan, Jennifer, Layne, and Sonia, thank you so much. There's been so many amazing takeaways around community, connection, trust, and feeling like you belong, and knowing that you're not alone. Resources that provide a starting point when you're lost. They're not going to have all the answers because it's going to be unique to your personal experience or your family's experience, but to provide that starting point is what we want with these life transitions. Resources. So I just wanted to say a massive thank you to all the co-designers, project staff and contractors involved with the project, and also to the Department of Social Services for making the project possible through funding. I know Rosie, our colleague, has shared the link in the chat to both the website and also our membership form. We will be reaching out to the community soon to recruit for the next wave of co-design and the next wave of resource development. Please keep an eye on our social media channel, our Instagram, Facebook, X, and TikTok accounts, where we'll be promoting registrations once they're available. You can also reach out to us anytime through our email address, which will pop in the chat, or call our office. But we do encourage you to become a member as well to access future programs and opportunities. Thank you to all the attendees for being here today and supporting the project. Your engagement in the chat and questions has been really helpful. We appreciate that support, and we encourage you to utilise and share the resources moving forward, the ones that are released now and the future released ones. We also wanted to thank our Auslan interpreters and our live captioner here today, making today's event as accessible as possible. And yeah, I guess stay in contact. We do want to make sure our events are safe as possible, as I alluded to earlier. We do have a safety and wellbeing officer always in our meeting. Today, that's Lauren. You can reach out to Lauren now or 1 hour after the event today if you do want to discuss anything or debrief anything. And a reminder that there's also external professional supports and services available, such as Lifeline and Rainbow Door. And my colleague will post those in the chat soon as well. But again, wrap up. We are at time. So thank you, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful evening. And we hope that these resources are helpful. Thank you again to everyone for being a part of it and for attending today. Thanks and have a good night.